What if I told you nearly every coach makes the same mistakes and mistake more specifically when it comes to starting, building, growing a coaching business? I'm going to share some of the biggest mistakes I've seen having worked with hundreds of coaches, partnering up inside their business, helping them grow to their first 3, 5, even £10,000 online with their business. I'll run you through some of the biggest mistakes they make before we audit their business, how you can avoid these mistakes so you can grow your coaching business much quicker, much more efficiently, and you can make progress without making these mistakes, right? One of the very first things that comes up time and time again is when you're starting a coaching business, there's a lot of limiting beliefs coaches have around what's actually possible in terms of the online space. Can you actually even make any money online? And then if you can make some money, is it predictable? Is it going to give you that full-time job and that security? That's one of the first biggest mistakes coaches make is, a lot of the time, they just haven't seen the landscape of things. They haven't seen what's truly possible when it comes to online and what you can achieve. And because they haven't seen it, it's so easy to doubt themselves, right? It's so easy to doubt if they can even help anyone in the first place, or rather, they know they can help people, but they don't know if there's any kind of market for it, right? And that's one of the first big issues, one of the first big mistakes new coaches make, whatever coaching program you have. We've had people come through the program that are hairdressers, physios, osteos, any kind of coaching business, any kind of service-based business is the same kind of limiting beliefs, right? Is it possible to get clients for my business? If it's an online program, how does that look like? What does that entail? All of these things, right? That's one of the first big issues. And if you're someone right now listening to this and you're having this conversation here and you listen to our conversation here, right? One of the very first things I encourage you to do is to remove some of the pressure on yourself, right? You don't need to scale your business to crazy numbers right now, right? If you're a new coach, if you have a couple clients through the door, if you're making £200 or £500 online with your business, you don't need to have everything figured out. You don't have to have the foundations to scale to 10K or 15K per month, even 5K per month. You don't need to have these foundations just yet. Just focus on getting people to know what you do and how you do it and what kind of results you can help people get. If you just focus on these two things, if you focus on speaking to people that would actually be a good fit for your program, you tell them about your offer, about your irresistible offer. If you're stuck on creating your irresistible offer for the online program, there'll be a link down in the description for another video to watch in terms of how you can build an irresistible offer for your coaching program. But effectively, that's one of the first biggest things. It's like having that calmness and having that stability and having that structure and less overwhelm with your business. You don't need to obsess about hitting 5K or 10K per month, because a lot of the time that burns coaches out because they get super distracted on this long-term goal, this long-term vision of getting to a specific goal. And then they never get there because they put so much pressure on that goal, so much stress, so much anxiety, so much overwhelm on that goal. It just really burns them out, right? Just focus. It sounds simple. It sounds so simple, but if you're someone that's relating to this first half of the video, right? It sounds so simple, but just focus on just having conversations and just getting your next client through the door. What do you need to do to get your next client through the door? Just really focus, obsess over that. Obsess about getting your next one client through the door. Don't go crazy. Don't try and hit 5K, 10K per month. Sure, have that as a long-term goal, for sure. Absolutely, but just almost set it somewhere on a whiteboard or on a big kind of thing and almost forget about it. Just focus on the tasks that are going to move you forward step by step towards that goal. That's one of the first biggest mistakes new coaches make, and it's finally when coaches book these calls from these videos, right? It's very easy to see who's been in the space for a while and who hasn't, based on the level of goals and the level of obsession of what they set. The guys that have been in the space for a while, for 5 years, 10 years even, obsess more about the smaller steps, the daily content, the daily messaging, the daily stories. The guys that are a bit newer, maybe a little bit naive, if you don't mind me saying that, obsess over 5K months, 10K months, 20K months. You know, that's one of the first things I would say in terms of removing so much overwhelm, so much stress, so much anxiety away from your goals, and just making it more enjoyable. So much more enjoyable if you just say, how can I make the next piece of content as good as possible? How can I make the next piece of content to be as valuable as possible for someone that's going to watch that and they're going to take value away from it? How can I do more than everyone else? You know, I don't know about you, but for me, that's always been a big North Star. How can I do more than everyone else, and how can it become unreasonable that I don't succeed, right? What do I need to do to become physically unreasonable that I don't succeed, right? One of my mentors a couple of years ago said that to me. He's a 7-figure business coach, and that really stuck with me. He said, look, Praman, I'm not the smartest, I'm not the most good looking, but how can I just do so much work? How can I put so much more volume than anyone else? So it becomes just physically impossible and physically unreasonable that I don't succeed, right? You know, if you're a fitness coach, if everyone else are making 1 post a day, right? Or 1 post every other day, if you just double it, if you just do 2 posts a day, if you go on Instagram Live, no one else is really doing that, and you just answer questions on them, if you show up on your stories every day, if you do more than everyone else, you get more than everyone else as well, right? So set these goals out for 3 months, for 4 months time, and just stay consistent. Just do it every day. You know, a lot of the time new coaches think building a business is all fun and rainbows, and it's certainly way more enjoyable than working a job, in my opinion, and for a lot of our clients. But you still need to do some stuff that you're not going to enjoy doing. You're going to need to do some things that you probably, on certain days, you're probably not going to want to do, you know? For example, this video today, I've promised myself to do 100 videos in 100 days. I have quite high fever, but I made that promise to myself. I made that commitment to this channel. And I'm filming this video to share a lesson, to share an observation, and have a conversation with you on the other side. Right? That's some of the biggest mistakes, some of the biggest things you can learn, some of the biggest things you can pivot and adjust when it comes to actually growing quite fast with your coaching business. I'm going to wrap this video up here, but just to give you a clear takeaway from this video as we finish, you know, the very first thing is start obsessing more on the daily non-negotiables and the daily journey, and you become infinitely more successful with your business. What is it you need to do today that's going to get your next client through the door? It's probably going to be content. It's probably going to be greeting and having conversations with the people engaging with your content. It's probably going to be having conversations about your offer and telling people how good your offer is. If you do these things consistently, you're going to win. You know? Take that from me. And if you find this video helpful, make sure to hit like, make sure to hit subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. If you do want to inquire about working with me one-to-one to start, build and scale your coaching business going into the new year, there'll be a link down in the description below where you can inquire. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.